And welcome, folks, to another edition of the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the offense. With that man, they call Gorgeous Borges. Gorgeous Al Borges. Fresh from being honored 2 weekends in a row. I don't know if the camera is big enough to contain a celebrity as big as Al Borges. Can we contain a guy, the magnitude of the gorgeousness of Al Borges? I mean, I was talking to Devin, and
Oh,
he just said
Sam.
he couldn't believe it. I mean, you would just, he was like, I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut in Al Borges' world out there in Boise.
Yeah, he's just a pawn out there. I'm still big, Sam. God, it's been 30 years. It's like I never left. So, yeah, I had a great weekend seeing guys I haven't seen in a long time and having a chance to honor a team that was certainly entitled to that. But I got to tell you, Sam, 2 weekends in a row. Holy smoke, man! I'm about fried. Okay. But we're going to do it, Sam. We're going to do it. And we're going to do a good job like we always do. Always a little easier when you win, but didn't work out this week. So, but we're still going to call it the way we see it, right, Sam?
Yeah, we're gonna call it the way we see it, and unfortunately for the people, folks, uh, it wasn't pretty.
No,
It hasn't been pretty all season,
no.
but it really wasn't pretty this past weekend. I mean, man, uh, yeah, it really felt like, you look from you've been trying to find progress from 1 week for them to
Yeah,
build from 1 week to the next, Al. And while certainly we haven't seen that, you're like it's been stagnant. This was one of those weeks where it felt like they regressed.
yeah,
It felt like they took a step back this week,
yeah.
Al.
Yeah, this was I thought, the worst offensive performance of the year. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Indiana's a very good football team that presented us some issues that were not easy to deal with, particularly for a team that isn't very seasoned. And Michigan, who is up front, simply is not. So some deficiencies showed up. Although, as I look back at the video, there were still some opportunities in a game that was only won by 5 points. There were still some chances, Sam. I mean, they didn't play like they wanted to play, I'm sure, but there were still some opportunities for them to win this football game. And sometimes you got to steal a win. When you're not playing that great, you got to steal a win. So, but for a lot of reasons, they just weren't able to do that.
Yeah. Um, you watch a team, you watch football long enough, and you realize what a team's plan is and what an adjustment is, right? We aren't coaches, most of us, but we start to realize how coaches think. And
Yeah.
now these coaches, they got in the game and they realized something. These guys can't block movement.
No.
They can't block movement. And now Vance said, well, Sam, they couldn't block movement all season, but Indiana got in this game and it was like it was like blood and water.
Yeah,
It's blood
exactly.
and water.
Yeah.
And they just started, it was sharks started swimming, and it was a feeding frenzy from the first quarter, from like the second series on, and they just started feeding, and they never stopped.
Yeah. I had studied Indiana almost every game they played. I looked at just in advance, and they had these things. These weren't new by any means, but they had never tapped them like they did in this football game. And I think it's kind of like you said. I think at the beginning, it was becoming increasingly apparent that they could not handle their twisting game, whether with the run or the pass. Uh, Guys were getting picked off, exchanges weren't being made. There were people in the hole instantly on run plays. There were people being sprung on pass plays. And what happened, Sam, is the footwork of the quarterback deteriorated because I believe a lack of confidence in his ability to be protected. And that had a huge effect on this football game. A huge effect. So, resulting in a lot of missed throws, some stare downs, some missed reads. But the footwork, really, that's the biggest thing is the footwork deteriorated. And once the footwork deteriorates, the timing of your passing game deteriorates. And that was a huge factor in the inability to make a couple of potentially explosive plays.
We're gonna. I value having. You're a resource. You're my guy. I love you. I think you know that. I hate admitting that. Because it goes to your head.
It
Goes
is what
to your
it
head.
is, Sam. It is what
Goes
it
to
is.
your head. But I value the expertise, and I value the candor. And we're gonna have one of the most candid discussions that we've had, Al, because I'm watching this game, and it had to be a helpless feeling for the coaches, and for Kirk Campbell in particular. Had to be a helpless feeling because you're watching this game unfold, and your quarterback is playing the game scared. Now, I don't know how you as a coach deal with that. Okay? Now, and I need you to talk me through how you deal with that, because it's not like there wasn't reason to have some nervousness out there. We just talked about how, listen, your line isn't picking up this action up front. They're twisted and they're coming free. They're blowing up your run game, and they're springing free on this pressure. Now, but it's not getting through all the time.
No,
it's not getting through all the time, but it's getting through enough to now it's in the quarterback's head. So everything that we saw the week before, Al, I'm thinking that what we saw the week prior and what we saw in the first series of the game is going to carry over, but it's not. So how do you deal with that? Because even when the pressure's not there, he's not stepping into his throws. He's backing up on everything. He's not going through his progressions. So how do you deal with that as a coach?
Well, let's start from the beginning, the foundation of the problem. I didn't have an offensive lineman that didn't have at least 10 minuses that I graded. That is without question the worst performance of the year. That's the starting point. So we have to understand what we're dealing with. That being said, it is the responsibility of the quarterback to assume that he's going to have good protection when there's absolutely no evidence to prove that he should. I would challenge the quarterback. I would say, I know what you're dealing with now. This is my first year coaching, and I've seen it worse than what you're dealing with, okay? So what you have to do is you have to have the mentality in your mind that they're going to have to kill me to get me out of there, okay? That's the starting point. They're going to have to kill me to get me out of there. There is nothing that's going to keep me from climbing a pocket, getting in the fight, and stepping through throws, and I don't care how much traffic there is. If they knock me out of the game, they knock me out of the game, but I am not going to back down. That's the beginning and the end of that conversation. That is, in fact, an occupational hazard in this game. In particular, there's going to be games where you keep your jersey clean, and there's going to be other games where you don't, and this was one that really you probably shouldn't have. But you have to appeal to his toughness and his willingness to give it up for the team. That's number one. Again, I've said this I don't know how many times. The most underrated component of this position is toughness. Everybody wants to talk about reads and progressions and all that, but that's not. If you're not willing to give it up, then you can't play this position because there's too many instances where you're going to get tested. Okay. And then what happens, and this is the way defensive coaches talk often, and I used to listen to Nick Saban say this a bunch, is you have to affect the quarterback. Now, what does that mean? That doesn't mean necessarily sack the quarterback. That means harass the quarterback, hurry the quarterback, do whatever you got to do so that there's residual effects. They're counting on these residual effects. When they break through, they're free and they get a shot on you. They want to punish you. So that what happens, Sam, you see ghosts. You see ghosts, which means you start leaving the pocket or cutting the ball loose too early, or backing off throws and throwing off your back foot when the protection may indeed be okay, or the protection isn't perfect, yet you're willing to do that anyway. What happened, I think, in this game is the quarterback really got affected, okay? And when the quarterback gets affected, your passing game goes completely out the door. So you asked me how I would handle it. I would challenge his manhood. I would say, get up there and throw that doggone thing and show that you're bigger than the situation, because this situation is not favorable, but it is in fact an occupational hazard that goes with the position, period. Use your fundamentals, what you've been coached to do. 1, 2, 3, plant, throw. 1, 2, 3, hitch, throw. 1, 2, 3, hitch, move, throw. Front out, back out, run up, do what you must do, but work within the fundamental realm of the position. And I don't care what happened last play, because as soon as you leave that thinking, you're done. You're done, period.
So I have to assume that happened. I have to assume that that happened. That, I mean, there was the pass that he threw over Colston's head. That was in the first half of the game, right? There was good protection on that.
Yeah.
On that play. And there were throws. So if you're watching the TV copy, you would think that there were never any receivers open. That every route combination was to the stick. It was in a box. That there was never any downfield. There are never any downfield routes run. That's what the TV would have you believe. That's what the commentators would have you believe. The All-22 doesn't say that, though.
No.
All-22 doesn't say that.
No.
And so what the All-22 tells you is that he wasn't looking at those routes. All right, so now, coach, so you challenged him. It's still not happening.
Put up or shut up. You got to change quarterback then. If here's the thing, Sam, is you have to be not just a quarterback, but at every position, a results-oriented manager, right? And you got to go by what happens, not by what you're getting back. For example, if whoever you're coaching, whether it be the right tackle or the quarterback, tells you, yes, sir, and I'll do that, and that doesn't happen, then they're not coachable. They're not doing what you want them to do for whatever reason. It may not be because they necessarily want to be defiant. It's just that you have to, if you're not getting what you want, you have to go to plan B. And plan B may not be your favorite plan, but if plan A isn't working, the only chance you got is to go to plan B. And sometimes it may even get down to plan C. But that's just the way every position works. That's the way my position works. If I can't produce offensively, they find somebody else to do it, period. So you got to take a hard line with this stuff. It's not fun. It's not my favorite part of the job, but that's why they pay you, to see to it that you get it. You're either coaching what's going wrong or you're allowing what's going on, and both are bad if what's going on isn't good, right, Sam?
Yeah, right. Well, I'm gonna give you some speculation. Sometimes I'm speculating, and sometimes I'm gonna tell you that I'm speculating right now. All right, and I want to qualify this as such because I want to make it clear that I'm not dealing in inside information here, and I don't want to have people speculating otherwise. But I don't think that they could. I don't think that they were in a position to go to someone else. I don't think that they were in a position to go to Alex Orji. Why do I speculate that? I just don't think that Alex Orji is Kirk Campbell's comfort zone as a play caller. I think this is my opinion on the matter.
Yeah.
I don't think that it took a minute to get to sort of a run menu, a game plan run menu that was, that worked. It took 3 games to get to a run menu, to build a run menu that worked. We didn't even get to the pass game menu. So, to build a game plan for Alex Orji, I mean, to think that, we took 3 games to build a run menu that was basically that fit them really, really well. And we didn't even get to the pass menu. To think that they were going to be able to bench Davis Warren midstream, go to Alex Orji and have a game plan that was going to be a winning game plan for the quarterback that isn't the comfort zone. I'm not confident that was where he was going to be as confident, if you get my drift. I just don't think that was an option. I don't think that was a viable option, which gets to where I come from when I say, moving forward, I think a viable option is going to be a collaborative play calling approach. This is why if you're looking for options as an offense, if you're trying to expand the possibilities, then maybe you need to expand the possibilities from a play call perspective. Maybe you need to bring some more voices into the mix because, and this is not a foreign concept for Sharon Moore. This is not a foreign concept for Michigan. This is something that they're very familiar with. They did it under Harbaugh. He had a collaborative play call approach, right? Where he had a lot of different voices coming up with a play call concept on game day. That could be something he does. Kasula's been an OC. Sharon's obviously done that, been a part of that mix. You could do that. That could be something that would make either from a O-line perspective, coming up with some different things, or in Alex perspective, coming up with some different things, or maybe it's just Sharon taking over the play calling. But this is, I know, maybe it doesn't change anything, Al, but
something has to change.
Something has to change, and you've done everything from a personnel perspective, so you got to change something, right?
Yeah.
You tell me what you think.
Well, I never dealt with that, and I know that works at some places, I guess. But trying to get into the 11th game of the season, I don't know. I think if you're going to change something, change the play call. I'm not saying you should do that or not. I'm just saying that if you're going to change something, get change to a completely different, not a completely different thinking, because you're not going to reinvent your offense, but a different sequencing. And different sequencing can be successful at times. Sometimes guys sequence a certain way because of force of habit. Hell, I'm sure I did that, but other guys sequence their play calling differently just because they think differently, yet the offense is the same. So that could get you a spark. I don't know. But that would be the way that I would lean if you were going to do that. I would lean to a completely different. I would not make it collaborative at this point. Now, I'm not saying that can't work, because some people do that, but you're kind of reinventing your system altogether there, or your system of play calling anyway altogether, with 2 games left. And I don't know, that's a difference. Maybe it's good. I don't know. But I would lean the other way if you're going to make the move. I would lean towards
you just move it all together. Maybe
that way you got a different sequencing instead of start. Well, it's a run. What do you want? It's a pass. What do you want? That's, I guess, the way they did that. I never did that. I would ask guys at times, what do you think about it? Usually between series more than during series, but I think you're better off with a guy that can sequence his play calling. That's the best play callers are not guys that are not collaborative guys. Generally, they're guys that sequence their play calling based on how they think or what they want to do next, rather than ask somebody here, okay, well, you like that play? Well, I was planning on running a play action pass, but it's not of that action. You know what I mean? So now, you know what I'm saying? The best play callers are guys that do it by themselves, I think.
Yeah, I look, you would know way better than me. I've never called plays, so far be it for me to talk about what works better than something else. But the only thing that I would toss back at you, Al, is I'm not looking for the perfect solution. I'm not trying to make perfect be the enemy of the good, my brother. I'm trying to find
get a spark. Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to find something better than what they're doing.
Yeah, which at this point, that's a low bar, But and what the heck, like I say, that may work. Collaborative play calling may work, but it's just not a comfort zone for me. So I understand.
Yeah, because
right now Sam. Right now, the hell with the comfort zones. Okay, the hell with the comfort zones haven't worked too well so far.
Right,
so maybe it's time to get the hell out of your comfort zone in some way, shape, or form, and try something different. Because we all know and have heard a million times what the definition of insanity is, right?
Because here are a couple of hard truths. Nothing is working consistently. Nothing is working consistently, and in fairness, here. You got to be fair. This is where you got to be fair to Kirk Campbell. Fairness to Kirk Campbell. They are severely limited on offense.
Yes.
They're severely limited.
Yes.
They have a line that cannot block either aspect of the game consistently.
Yes.
They don't run block consistently. They don't pass block consistently. They at receiver, they don't have a lot of speed. They get open more often than they're given credit for. They get open more often than they're given credit for, but they don't get open as often as you'd like. Right.
And they have not provided explosives for whatever reason.
Right.
Maybe there may be some explosives there that have not been explored, but they have not. So and that's what you got.
Right. And you have a former walk-on at quarterback. This is not an ideal mix. And so you can expect, Al Borges, that execution is going to be inconsistent. I'm not saying that to you as a coach. I'm not saying that to you as something that is acceptable, because I know it drives you nuts. Don't give them an out. Don't tell them that it's acceptable to have poor execution. I'm not saying that. Don't ever make that be acceptable, but you got to build that into as a coach. And when you're in a meeting away from the players, you got to be saying amongst yourselves, fellas, we're going to have some execution issues. So we got to put them as often as possible. We got to put them in the best situations we can.
The best situation. And that's what I said before, Sam, is as a play caller, you got to be brutally honest, okay, with yourself. Now, you don't necessarily have to tell everybody everything about your inefficiencies, because all that does is make you look incompetent. But you yourself and to the staff, you have to be brutally honest with what your presentation is. Is our presentation giving us the best opportunity to be successful? Are we putting people in position to do what they can do consistently, right? And when the game's over, you can point at the players, and a lot of times it is the players' fault, but a lot of times it's not. And so you got to stop. It's because at the end they're going to blame the coach anyway. So be brutally honest with what you're doing, how you're doing it, who's doing it. That's the biggest thing. Who's doing it? And that way, that when you call the play, you can call the play with a certain amount of confidence to know that I've got guys in position that can actually execute these responsibilities. So that's it. You just can't make excuses. I used to go through my call sheet after the game, Sam, and I had a highlighter for every call I thought was put the player in a bad position. I'd go through it and say, how many times did we do something that we thought was better on paper than actually turned out to be in a game? And then I would look at those and evaluate. Now, that's the real indication, if you're honest about it, of what kind of game you called as a coordinator.
Right. So I guess what I would say is understanding your severe limitations, understanding that you're going to have these execution breakdowns without accepting them, understanding that they're going to happen, asking yourself as a staff behind closed doors, are we really giving them as many opportunities to be successful as we should? And I mean, you have to say no. you would have to say no. If you get in the red zone with goal-to-goal situations twice, especially the one after the interception at the 7-yard line, you got to get in the end zone there. You got to get in the end zone there. And if you don't get in the end zone there, you got to say, we can't just say that's execution. We can't just say that's execution. Because if you do that, see, that's when the players start to say, wait a minute, is it always just us? Is it always just us? You don't want to put the players in a position. You don't want to get in a position where the players are always thinking, wait a minute, it's always us? It's always us?
Yeah.
You don't want to
They'll
get in
lose
that.
confidence in you as a coach, if you don't own up to your end of it. You know what I mean? That's the deal. It is a team effort when you win. It's a team effort when you lose. And that includes coaches as well as players, So, you got to put together a plan that you have confidence will be successful based on who you're having do it. Now, you got to understand something about this team is it's not a very good offensive team, but one of the reasons it's not, Sam, is when they don't execute to perfection, the improv skills of the quarterback are very, very limited. So you don't have a guy that can cover your ass when you don't make it. So, maybe run for a first down or buy time to throw a first down. So, oh, God, I didn't really plan that, but we got a first down, so I get 3 more calls. They don't get much of that, Sam. They don't get much of that. So when you have mediocre to below average execution, coupled with the inability to keep the chains moving through improv, it's the perfect storm of bad offense. You know what I mean? So all that combined exacerbates the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a perfect example of what you're talking about, and this is me talking, not you, Al Borges, this is me talking, would be the third down call after the interception. And a lot of people will focus on taking Davis out and putting Alex Orji in. I don't have a problem with a run with.
No, that had nothing to do with Alex Orji.
It's not having a run call with Alex Orji. That's fine. It's who's the personnel in the game that you're asking to do the different things on the play. And Devin talked about it. And by the way, Devin's going to be on the Northwestern call. I don't know if I'm spilling the beans. He spilled the beans on me. Talking about Al. Yeah, man. We were doing the show and we were talking about I was talking about one of my sources, and he gave up one of my sources as the agent for one of the players. I was like, come on, man. Wasn't going to say who one of my sources, but he said, yeah, you just talked to the agent for the player. I was like, what the hell, Devin? I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Devin? Anyway, Devin's going to be doing the Michigan Northwestern game. But anyway, he talked about it. He said, man, you ask out, they running a quarterback pin and pull. There's no problem with this call. They've scored on a quarterback pin and pull.
Scored a couple times, yeah.
But they ask Peyton O'Leary to pin the defensive end now. Mm-hmm. Devin talked about it. He said, why are we asking Peyton O'Leary to pin to at least maybe there's a circumstance where this works. But this is such a high leverage situation now that I don't think it's unreasonable to question that in this particular circumstance, especially when it blows up the play.
No, I think that's fair. And I run that play. I've run pin and pulls with toss sweeps and with quarterback pin and pulls before. That's not a new play, but generally when we would pin with a wide receiver, I generally would not do it that close to the goal line. I'd use a bigger player. Now, out on the field, we were a little bit more footloose and fancy free, but we would generally motion the wide receiver to give him a little inertia to make the block, And but in that instance, he was in stationary position and his inside foot was way back. where his first step was with his outside foot, and then the guy 41 just stormed up the field, knocked off the puller, knocked off the fullback, and well, once you do that, the pin and pull is not going to work. So again, that's one thing. Evaluate that as a coordinator. Evaluate it. Stop. Okay, should we have used somebody different? Should we have schemed it different so he was more capable of making the block? Is that the position we want to be doing? And that's just all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is when you go back and you look at what happened in the game, evaluate whether you gave them the best opportunity to succeed. That's it. And if you did, if you can sleep at night knowing that you did and it just didn't get done, then you sleep better. But if you stop and say, "Ooh, boy, I don't know, man, it's ugly. We shouldn't have done that," then you can improve as a play caller and as a game planner, but that play probably is a prime example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's a killer. That's a killer.
Because when you're in a 5-point game, see, now this is what's amazing, Sam, is no, they don't play very well. I think they'd be the first ones to tell you that, but they're in a 5-point game. So up one call like that, or another call earlier here or something, it could be the difference. You can steal a game, even though you're not playing very well, if you make a crucial call at a pivotal time. You can. I've done it before. When it came out of the game with 100 less yards than the opponent, played very average, but because we made a play when we needed a play, or the play caller made a good call at a crucial time, we won.
Well, people will say they ran the pin and pull before, but I think when they ran it previously, I think it was Bredesen that.
Yeah, Bredesen did it. Bredesen was the cracker, and maybe they wanted to break a tendency. I don't know, but I just don't. If you're going to break a tendency of Bredesen being the pinner, do it with use a different guy that can still capable of doing it. So I know why they did it. I know why they called it, but again, it's not the X's and O's; it's the Jimmies and Joes. That's the big thing.
Yeah, that's a tough one, given how much of a chore. I mean, you're down 17-3. It is such an exercise to move the ball. They had just they got the ball, they received the ball to start the second half, and they had run the ball five times to open the half and punt it. And they had run the ball on 3rd and 7. And it was a curious decision to run the ball on 3rd and 7, because you think when they ran the ball on 3rd and 7 that
they'll go for a 4th down. Right?
Go for it on 4th down, right?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the decision. It just didn't pair with the 4th down. So that's why that's why I'm saying it just seems to call for thinking outside the box from a play call perspective. Maybe this is another spark on the coaching side of things, the way that you were looking for a spark on the player side of things, right? I don't know that it works. Just like I didn't know if it might not do anything, just like it didn't do anything on the player side of things. It might not amount to a hill of beans, but at this point, you do need a spark. You do need to jolt it back into order and hope for the best. Now, in the short term, before we get to the questions, Al, and before we get to the grades, this offensive line thing has to be addressed. Just like you got to address the quarterback, we know from a game plan perspective, coaches are copycats. If nothing else, they're copycats. Northwestern saw this film. Ohio State saw it, but Northwestern saw this film. And they said, "Oh, man, you see what Indiana just did to Michigan's offensive line? Oh, boy, this is what we have to do." And Michigan had no answer for it all game long. So talk me through, just like I asked you to talk me through, what do you do with the quarterback? Talk me through how you begin to address an issue that Vance said, man, I've been seeing them have issues with movement all season long.
Mhm.
Well, how do you begin as we're in this bye week now? How do you begin to patch a problem that seems to have been an issue all season?
Well, with the line in particular, let's talk about pass protection. One starting point, whenever you separate your protection, what I mean by that is linemen step back and sort or bob big on big the people. Is there's some spaces between the protection that can be vulnerable to twists if the penetrator, the first guy twisting, is not stopped. And that happened several times in this game as they would run a TE, or which means tackle first, end around, or ET, which is just the reversed, or the two tackles would twist. Anytime you can't get the first penetrator stopped, there is a general tendency for the guy to get to your guard to get the adjacent lineman to get picked off. Okay. And then the guy doing the twisting comes free. So number one is, if you're going to continue to separate your protection, which is what it's natural a lot of people do, to get backs out, you almost gotta. Okay. You just got to really work your butt off at stopping the penetrators for the first move, trying to keep the blockers on the same level so it's easier to exchange the twists. Okay. Number two is to do less of that. Okay. Get into more full slide protection, which may sacrifice getting some people out for a pass. But when you've got a full slide or at least a half slide protection, you've got a lot of times three blockers blocking two. So if they twist, they just end up twisting into an extra blocker. That's another thing. You can half slide the line and bob one player, or you can full slide the line and bob the tight end. There are ways to handle all that movement, but it may mean sacrificing getting some people out, which no coordinator likes. I don't like it. Okay. Number two is use your chip. Have a chipper anytime a guy is in pass protection, virtually every time out. And it may sacrifice him getting into the route as fast as you want. You may not get the stretch you want, and you may have to use more half field reads than full field reads, but it will help the quarterback get the ball up. I've done all this when the protection was just not what you want it to be. Just you have one player, whether it be a running back who's got blitz responsibility, but if his key doesn't come, he is going to be in what is in essence a double team or a temporary double team with a tackle. Okay, so that's another thing. Another thing I've done is flip a tight end to a good pass protector. If you've got tight ends, they got a guy that can really rush the passer, and you have a weakness at tackle, you can put the tight end in the backfield and have him go the side of the best pass rusher and just exchange pass receiving responsibilities with the back, whoever the other one be. This is something else that I've done over the years when your protection just isn't hold up. Just the thing to understand is that you just can't complete a pass with a quarterback's on his back, and you can't complete a pass when the quarterback is intimidated by the rush, even when he's not on his back, which is a residual effect of getting hit earlier in the game. So there are answers to that. Are they your favorite answers? Hell no. I want to check release guys or free release guys, get them into the route so we can get some nice stretches, have check downs and all that. That's the ideal passing game. But sometimes schematically you have to go to something that maybe you're not as crazy about, just to ensure the fact that you can get the ball off.
Yeah, it's quite the dilemma. Your line, you gotta get them. You got to do some patchwork, and you got to prepare your quarterback to go out there and play like it's gonna be okay, even if it's not. Even if it's not. Like, hey, it might not be okay, and you got to go out there anyway.
Yeah.
Go out there
Well,
anyway.
we've talked, Sam. We've talked a lot in the last 3 or 4 years about sorting pass protection or turning. We've talked about that. I'm sure you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this has got to be an offensive line just has to do a lot more turning and sliding and chipping to help the guys that are all by themselves on a good pass rush.
All right, folks. A couple of things. If you can stomach the film study, and you got to stomach it. Like, it's not for the faint of heart. this week.
No,
But if you really want to understand what happens, if you want to realize, like, it wasn't just that every route combination was, they were running 5 yards and stopping. That's what the commentators would have you believe. They were just running 5-yard routes. That's
yeah,
not.
sometimes they were. Yeah,
Sometimes they were.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were, but they run a vertical smash, and he wasn't looking at the vertical.
Yeah. Yeah. Ball was coming out fast, and maybe that's how he was coached. If you got a gimme, throw it. I don't know. But there's some opportunities in a team that plays one high defense all the time to hit some vertical routes.
Right. So, I mean, it does beg the question. I mean, if that's how he's being coached, well, that would be something to ask the coach about. Like, well, why are you coaching him that way?
Yeah.
But then you're putting your player and your offense at a deficit if you're coaching them that way. I mean, it's hard to believe they would coach him that way.
Well, to start the game, the first drive was pretty good. They started the game with a vertical smash, gained 13 yards. Ball came out fast to Colston Loveland. They ran a little double stick. That ball came out, a little confidence builder route, which was good. They gained 9 yards. They ran an open zone, but got beat on a TE. They ran a duo play, gained 3 yards. They ran a dagger route that gained 16. Play action pass, dagger route. Wasn't a great throw, but he caught the ball for a pretty good gain. And then the sixth play of the game, they ran another shot back to back. But I felt like the quarterback left the pocket just a hair early. The safety flat-footed the crossing route, and the post guy ran right by him. Basically, he got held, and there was a penalty. But I'd have thrown it. I'd decline the penalty and take a touchdown. So there were some chances there. And some good execution early in the game. But when as the game progressed, the run game was not as good, and the pass protection kind of deteriorated. And like I said, I think it affected everybody.
Yeah. I guess when I say what I said about it's hard to believe you'd be a coach that way, I'm talking about as the game progressed and clearly they were squatting. It was like they were hammering everything short. It was like, okay, well, you're throwing a smash and they are hammering it. So they're begging you. They're begging you to hit something down the field.
Yeah. They were not, Sam, they were not carrying vertical seams, which means when you threw guys straight down the field in any vertical fashion, the safeties or the underneath coverages were not running with them like you would like in a match zone, okay? They were allowing those guys to run by them vertically. And if you don't take a drop that allows you to time out that throw, now who knows? Maybe they'd hit him and he wouldn't get it off. But it was there. There were opportunities to throw those vertical routes, and I knew before the game there was going to be because they play a lot of one high defense.
Yeah. All right. So, folks, if you have questions, I started out saying if you can stomach the film studies, they are available for free. It's on Wednesdays. They go up Wednesday mornings before noon on the Autograph app. They are available for free. You can download them they're available for free on Android and iOS. You can download them by going to the following link. It is link.ag.fan/Sam Webb. That is link.ag.fan/Sam Webb. It is an awesome app that Tom Brady's company, Autograph, came up with. It is a fantastic app. It aggregates all of your favorite free content on your favorite team, which is Michigan. If you're watching this, you're an ardent, avid Michigan fan, right? And so your favorite Michigan blogs, your favorite Michigan podcasts, your favorite Michigan videos, including exclusively available on the Autograph app, the football film studies with Al Borges focused on the offense. And it is educational and painful, but educational, getting into the offense this week. You check them out. And the great thing about it is consuming all this content on the Autograph app, you accrue points. You can redeem these points for rewards like tickets to events, exclusive access to events. It is a great way to reward your loyalty as fans on the Autograph app. So be sure to check it out. Al, can you give us your grades for
Do I have to, Sam? Do I have to?
We do it. We do it every week. We can't avoid it this week. So give us your grades.
Well, I gave the O-line and the quarterback a D, and I don't give them any Ds, but I just didn't think that, and I think they would be the first to say they didn't play very well. I gave everyone else a C. The wide receivers a C. The running backs, who usually grade pretty well, I don't think they were great in this game. And even the tight ends, who usually grade pretty well, I gave a C. The overall offensive effort was a D to D minus. I mean, I don't know that they bombed because they did have a chance to win the game, but it was not their best effort. And I think there's some at this point, Sam, with the Northwestern coming up and then the big game, they got to do a little soul searching now. How do you want to finish this thing? How do you want to finish this thing? Because you can finish it in the tank, or you can finish it with some pride. With 2 games left, you can still win. You still win 7 games. If you put it together, but it's got to be in your heart. It's got to be it's got to show up in your effort. So there's 2 more opportunities to get a lot better grades. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I actually think that was kind of generous. I think that was generous. Really do. Really do. Considering the goal-to-go situations that they had, and I think they would probably say the same thing. They have some real serious work to do, and hopefully they can get it fixed, because the problem is the defense was so lights out. I'm saying the problem for the offense is that they so thoroughly let the defense down. It was a brilliant defensive effort past those 2 touchdowns that they scored. And really, I would say the 1 touchdown, because it was the double move. The stutter and go touchdown was the one where you look at it and you're like, that was really a defensive letdown. The touchdown that Zeke Berry gave up, you just tip your cap. It was a great ball, great route, tip your cap. The double move, you're like, hey, you look at your DB and it's like, hey, young fella, look, man, we need you to play with better technique than that. You play with better technique than that. Mason Graham is on the quarterback right now. He beat his man so clean.
He did.
It was like, come on, we give us a little better technique, and we got a sack right there or something. So, but the defense was basically lights out other than that. And it was just, you got almost nothing from your offense in that game. And that just, you got to be able to win that game if you get anything from your offense. So that's just a tough pill, really tough pill to swallow, given how well that they played. So, folks, if you have questions for Al Borges, put them in the chat now. If you have questions for Al, put them in the chat now, and we will start knocking them down for Coach Borges. We have these candid chats. They are therapeutic. We don't take personal shots. So, if you want to talk about somebody stupid or somebody dumb and all that stuff, we don't do that. But if you want to give constructive criticism, well, that's fine. We'll open the door for that. Constructive criticism is fine. All right? So we'll start getting to the questions. We will start getting to them now with Ricky Cicciotti. Question for you guys. What would be the bigger disappointment? The way the season went, or missing out on Underwood, assuming he sticks with LSU? We got to choose? Why do we have to choose between the two?
My answer to that question is yes.
Right? Both would be big disappointments, man. Both would be significant disappointments. I mean, the season has been an utter disappointment. Did not expect for it to go anywhere close to this way. They lost games that they should have won, even with the miscalculation. I think it's very fair to say that they misevaluated their quarterback room. And they should have gone to the portal. Even after the decision Harbaugh made not to. Because they waited too long on JJ. They thought they had a chance to keep JJ when Harbaugh was here. And so they should have read that better. And then once the coaching transition was made, they misread their quarterback room, and they should have gone to the portal and either added whatever was in the portal or poached from some other program and grabbed the quarterback to add to this quarterback mix. And they should have gone to the portal for a tackle and added a tackle. They needed those two positions to fortify their ranks. But even with all of that, Al, they, with what they have, should have won some games that they lost on this schedule this year.
Yeah, I mean, I compare it to a year ago when there were, I believe, 3 offensive linemen took last year, right? I mean, Ladarius was one, and Nugent was the other, and Hinton, I believe, was the other, and there might have been one I'm thinking about. There was a tight end taken, A.J. Barner, who really turned out to be a good player. So there, I mean, there was, not a lot of guys, but more than they had this year, and the team this year wasn't near as talented. So I think the same mentality might have made them a little better team if they just could have taken, not necessarily wholesale, but take 4 or 5 guys, since that's the culture in college football anyway, right? And certainly one of those needed to be a quarterback to raise the competitive level of the room.
All righty, let's go back to it. The rush exposure play action game was so important for us last year. It's basically non-existent now. Teams are even biting on the fake. Al, you have some opinions on their fakes, especially on the nakeds. What about that?
Yeah, I'm a believer. Naked boots, particularly, are really, to me, more effective under center than shotgun. Although I use shotgun boots, I'm not saying that still can't be part of it, because I think it has to be part of it, because you're running the ball and gun so much. So you have to have some play passes, but they also will run the football under center. And your best play passes, particularly naked boot, are under center, because the fakes are longer and grosser and give bigger jerks to the defense, and will get that over route, more likely to get that over route open. So that's just how I always believe that. And I think if you execute the mechanics of the fake well, the line do a good job of selling it, you can really get some people open that way. But the big thing about the play pass game is when you're not running the ball as well. And I'm not going to tell anybody out that doesn't really understand this. You get grosser jerks from the defense, or bites from the defense. And when I say jerks, that means right and left, like a naked, and bites meaning up, whether it be linebackers or safeties, when you're running the ball better. If you're not running the ball as well, they may give it a token look, but they're much more able to rally back into their pass defense distribution. So that's hurt it. They're trying to play pass now. I've got play passes on this call sheet, but they're just not near as effective when you're not running the football better. Did I answer that, Sam?
You did. All right, let's go back to the questions. Says Jeremiah Webb says they have to get rid of the offensive coordinator. Hypothetically, would they try to go after Joe Sloan from LSU to try to win over Bryce Underwood?
You better answer. I don't even know who the hell Joe Sloan is. So Sloan
is the OC at LSU.
Okay. Well, I don't think he's very popular this week either. So
right.
Right. I don't know, Joe, but I know how that position is. And right now there's a bunch of pissed off Cajuns, I'm guessing.
Yeah, they are. They couldn't bust a grape down there at LSU. I don't, Brian Kelly or his offensive staff, they are too happy. And I think that Bryce Underwood might be the only reason they can keep a job at the moment. So I don't know. Yeah. Put it this way. I think there will be an assessment and accounting of a full staff assessment after the season. I don't know that you go and put it if Joe Sloan, put it this way, if you're going to look at an offensive coordinator, is Joe Sloan the best guy out there, or did Joe Sloan just have Jaden Daniels? You know, I don't know, because you could get fooled into thinking a guy is a guy because of who he had as the quarterback.
Yeah, I call it flavor of the week, flavor of the year. Yeah.
You got to be real careful.
Yeah, you got to be real careful. A lot of the times that doesn't work very good. But my point is I guess the biggest thing, if you're selling Bryce Underwood, no matter who the coach is you got to sell him on what you're going to be, not what you are right now, right? Because you'll never get into Michigan based on how they've been playing. I mean, I don't think anybody's kidding himself there. But you got to sell him on what's been done in the past when you were coaching him and when you were coaching the quarterbacks, and that can come to fruition again. We just have to mend a few spots, and that's really got to be your approach more than anything.
Yeah, you just be careful on thinking you got a guy, because look at a guy, if you can look at the guy's body of work when he didn't have an all-world quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
See what he did when he had a guy who was just pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He had a guy that was just okay. Not when he had a guy who was magnificent. Like, okay, I mean, if a guy's driving a Lamborghini, it's pretty hard to mess up a Lamborghini. Like a Lamborghini with mud on it is still a Lamborghini.
It's still a Lamborghini. You can always wash a Lamborghini, right? And it's right back to being a Lamborghini again. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, pretty hard to make it look bad.
Yeah, I've seen that mistake more times than I can count. You know, this guy changes coordinators and gets the flavor of the month, and then he gets there, realizes that he wasn't the flavor of the month. The guy he was coaching was, and that's, you know, I'm not saying that's the case with every guy, but
I'm not saying that's the case with Joe Sloan. I
don't know.
I'd just be like, look, if you're getting a new offensive coordinator, make sure you go get the best guy.
Yeah.
Make sure
you go for the sum. You said it perfectly. Look at the sum total of his effort, not what he's done recently or whatever. Look at the whole resume. That'll usually give you the best decision. Hell, Sam, I went to Indiana, from Indiana to Auburn, and the year before I went to Indiana, we were bad. The fans were screaming that they took me, but they were screaming even louder in joy after we went 13-0. Because the sum total of my resume was much better than what I had done in Indiana the last year. Okay, so whatever that means.
And you said, go check my resume.
Yeah, look at everything. I mean, goodness gracious.
Go check my resume.
One thing I learned, Sam, and I've talked to young coaches about this, if you've coached long enough, they can find something wrong with you. Okay? Particularly coordinators say, oh, look at it. In that year, they were terrible. Look at that year, they were terrible. So it's your best friend, your worst enemy. But if you coach long enough, you can also find something on the resume where they can get excited about having you. So,
yeah. All right. Let's go to the next one. All right. Adam Shepardson, coach, on this bye week, what can the coaches do to help shore up this unit? I think you're talking about the offensive line. You kind of talked about it a little bit, went into this question. What can you do in the bye week to help shore up this offensive line unit? You kind of touched on that already.
Yeah. Just go back to fundamentals and look at some schemes that might help them a little bit. But it's just a line, though, Sam. I mean, they got to look at everything. Why are we not doing better? And the line is part of that, huge part of it, because it's 5 guys, right? I mean, 5 guys it's a lot of guys, but it's more than just a line. And be brutally honest and try and fix the mistakes and make changes if you think you need to make changes. Although at this late date, they should have enough. You would think there's a sample size that would allow them to decide who they think the best players are. But you never know. Sometimes you can make a change that can help you through the last couple of games.
Yeah. Kent V on YouTube says, how can they help the O-line? So you're talking about, working with fundamentals and how they handle twists and maybe turning the protection, that kind of thing. But Kent was talking about it from another perspective. Said Warren is comfortable on the move. You can say that again. He said, make it a part of the structure. This line struggles in standard pass pro. An under center game allows for easier play action. What do you think about that?
I think those are all good observations. Yeah. I would, again, in this case, because they're struggling up front, I would think in terms of never every third pass play, the pocket's got to move some. Okay. Mm-hmm. Every third pass play, you can run a naked, run a sprint, run a boot, do something where the quarterback's not in the same launch point every time, because that makes it a lot easier on the defensive line. And then tweak some of the schemes to help the line gain some angles to make their blocks. That's the best. I mean, this sometimes all this stuff's just talk. It may make it a little better, but it's not significant enough to really make a difference. But I think you got to do it. As a coach, you got to do it. You got to try it, because what you're doing isn't working the way you want it to.
All right. Here is another. We got plenty of questions for you, Al. Neil Wiggins says, observation, the coaches should have either trusted Orgy to throw a few passes or not put him out there to be too predictable. What do you think about that one, Coach Borges?
Yeah, I think you could make an argument for that. I wonder, and not saying that this is the answer, okay, or as you would say, a panacea, but what would happen? I think Davis threw, or there were 37 called passes in this game. I don't know how many he actually threw, but I think I had 37 called passes. What would happen if Alex Orgy threw 37 passes? And knowing that he's going to improv more than Davis is, right? But he may miss some throws that Davis hits. So there's a little trade-off. We've talked about this before. But maybe he'd do better. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But they never really did that. And I know why they didn't do it, because they wanted to run the football with him and take the pressure off him, not make him make a lot of decisions from the middle of the pocket. All that makes sense to me. But at this point, you almost got to throw caution to the wind, regardless of who the quarterback is.
So you're saying, hey, why not? That's what
Trust me, I say it, but I'm not saying it like, oh God, if you don't, you're stupid, because I don't believe that either. So
yeah, this is Newber's making the point that I was just making about Joe Sloan. He said we thought Kirk was good at development because he had JJ. These other QBs aren't developed. That touche. I mean, that could be case in point. That could be case in point with Joe Sloan. That could be using the point that I'm making about Joe Sloan against me. That could very well be case in point.
Yeah, and you're going to be judged based on your ability to coach, Joe Namath or Joe Schmatz, right? Because sometimes you're going to get a really, really good quarterback, but can you still be productive when you don't? And that's really the gauge or the barometer of what you'll be judged.
That is true. You can take a guy like Al Borges, who was at San Diego State. Who's your quarterback at San Diego State?
Ryan Lindley. Yeah.
Ryan Lindley, and threw for all those yards one year, and then you go from that, where he threw for all those yards, and then you go to Michigan the very next year, and you have a 1,000-yard rusher in Denard Robinson and a 1,000-yard rusher in Fitz Toussaint.
Yeah, and you talk about having a shift in thinking. I think I said this before. We didn't have a running play in our offense for the quarterback at San Diego State, and damn near at least half to 2/3 of our offense was geared towards Denard, and our goal was to get Fitz more involved, and it turned out to be pretty good from that standpoint, anyway.
Yeah, worked out pretty well. All right, next question for Coach Borges. All right. Let's see. I don't know if this is a question. And we've played about 10 offensive linemen, 2 quarterbacks, multiple backs, receivers, and tight ends. Take half the offensive staff and have them come up with an Orgy game plan, the other half a Warren plan, literally have 2 offenses.
Sure sounds good. It does. It's that actually sounds. They've kind of. It hasn't been half and half. I'm not gonna, but they have tried to basically play Alex packages that are suited to his skill set.
Yeah.
And then with Davis, hope that they could be more balanced.
I think what his point is kind of, I think he's responding to what I said is I don't think that they had a viable break glass in case of emergency plan to, hey, we gotta go to Alex and full game plan, full game for Alex. I don't think that was. I just don't think. Let me go on to the next. I just don't think that's the comfort zone, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was something that had to be planned for, as opposed to something that he could go to on the fly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's pretty dead on accurate, in my opinion. A lot of times, what's funny, I had this happen too, Sam. You'll find this interesting, is you're playing a quarterback and he's not doing bad, but your backup's not bad. But all of a sudden, the quarterback is hurt and you got to play the backup and you don't have any choice. And then you let him do some of the things that the other guy did. You find out he's pretty damn good at them, but you didn't think that he was going to be. I had that happen one year. You say, oh, God, this guy's a better passer. We got to let him play. And then we'll play the other guy in spots. Then the other guy had to play all the time. He turned out to be better than the guy that you played. So that kind of stuff can happen too.
Mm-hmm. All right. This one is, I know how you're going to react to this one now. Jay Marion, coach, do you get Donovan more involved in the passing game these last couple of weeks to take some of the pressure off Loveland? Davis seems to lock in on Loveland.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I vote yes. I think he's only caught 12 balls this year, and I think he could be used more in that capacity. And again, you still got to protect. You still got to be able to throw it. I mean, that's still a factor. But yeah, he is a weapon. I don't care. You can say, oh, he hadn't done much here. He's a weapon, period. I don't care what you say. And he's a weapon not just as a runner, but he's also a very good receiver. So I think there is a place for that.
Lance Flory on YouTube says, Al, do you feel confident in this offense's ability to run any type of screen?
Not if you don't run them and practice them. No, I don't have. We've talked about screens. It's something you gotta. It's expensive, and you got to dedicate time to it. And they threw a slip screen this last game, gained 9 yards. I haven't seen one in a couple of years, but it was pretty good looking screen. So they can do it, But screens are something that you got to jump in with both feet, practice the hell out of them, orchestrate some success in practice so that you're confident in calling them during a game, and that's really how you go about it. But if they'll put the time and effort into doing it, yeah, I would be confident. But they just haven't thrown a lot of them, so they're going to be very hit and miss.
Mm-hmm. All right, on to the next one for Al. Jay Marion, coach, have you ever seen an offense that takes absolutely no deep shots all season?
No, I've never seen an offense that never did it. This team's tried to a few times. Now, one thing I will say is I've not seen a lot of balls trying to deep balls, outside bombs, go routes type deal. I haven't seen very, very little of that. They have tried to take some shots down the field. They called a couple in this game that did not result in completions or any kind of success, but they were called. Right? Matter of fact, they called 2 back-to-back. They called a dagger route, which was complete, and called what I call a wing over, where the wing, I think it was Colston, ran a deep over route, and the other guy ran a post. That was a play that there was a defensive holding on. So there was that. I mean, it's not none, but it certainly isn't a lot, and I can kind of understand why, because in this game, the protection just wasn't holding up long enough. When you throw those passes, your protection's got to hold up. Because you got to hold them longer. You can't throw the ball way down the field and just take a 5-step drop and just throw it. There's a progression that goes through that, other than if you just want to throw a bomb, which I think there's something to that too. But if you want to take big bites, you do have to hold the ball longer. You don't want to live in that world, but to do it 3, 4, maybe 5 times a game, I think it's viable, knowing that if just a couple of them hit, the goal is accomplished.
All right, let's go ahead and hit a few more here, because Al had a lot of them. All right, this one, Sharon Ruker says let about 18 seconds go before calling timeout. Horrible. I said this on the show with Vance. I just felt like way too much was made of that by the commentator. I don't know what you thought about that sequence. Did you watch the TV?
I don't think I saw it, Sam. And I watched the all 22 and did not have a feel.
Okay, yeah. So there is.
I only saw about a half of the first half.
Yeah.
The rest of it, I was at the Boise game, so I didn't see it. But I did watch the all 22, but did not have a feel for the timeouts. So
yeah, so there was an instance at the end of the game where, it was the last couple minutes of the game, and Indiana's running the clock out, and Sharon waited. He let like 20 seconds run off the clock before he called the timeout when Indiana they were running the clock out, and if they get a first down, they were gonna basically exhaust the clock. To me, way too much was made of that sequence because the game is over. Mm-hmm. The game is over. Michigan's not gonna do anything. They're not gonna win this game. They're not gonna do. This is essentially the piling on. This is the piling on aspect of the game. There's a lot that has gone wrong in the game, and this is hey, you did this wrong too, kind of thing. You call the timeout right away so you can preserve as much time as possible in case some miracle happens and you have a chance to throw a Hail Mary or something or whatever. The game was over. The thing to make a lot of, and I did agree with them making a lot of this, was challenging the and I talked about this on the show with Vance, was challenging the fumble. This is an issue.
Oh, the knee down? I did see that on a replay after the fact. Yeah.
This is an issue. And this is an issue worthy of saying what's going on? What is going on with these challenges? Who is telling you to challenge these plays? Mm-hmm. Because whoever it is telling you to challenge these plays, get them off the mic. Get them off the mic right now. I don't have anybody making a big deal out of that should be making a big deal out of that. Mm-hmm. Because you know why? Because that happened in a portion of the game that mattered, mm-hmm. where it still could have affected the game. They're talking about a portion of the game where the game is over. What? 18 seconds ran off the clock. Game's over.
Yeah, you're kicking a horse.
Yeah, you're kicking a horse at that point. But at the point where you're talking about timeouts in the game, and a recurring issue with these challenges, like, okay, let's figure out why are we challenging these plays? And Sharon did what you want a leader to do. Hey, I challenged the play. I'm fighting for my players and all of that. He didn't say somebody told me to challenge. He didn't pass the buck.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't do that publicly. But I tell you what I would do, Al. What I would do behind the scenes is I would be reading somebody to riot at, because somebody came up to me in the course of the game and said his knee was down. One of y'all told me his knee was down. Whoever it was that told me his knee was down, don't ever pick up the mic again in the course of the game and tell me to challenge the play. Don't do it again. Don't pick up the mic again. Period. Because now you're making me look like I don't know what the hell I'm doing with these challenges.
Right.
You're hanging me out the
because he's completely at the mercy of that guy. He can't see that. He does not have a television in front of him like the one that's making the suggestion. I would say this, Sam. On those challenges, I would not have, and I don't know how they do it. I really don't, but I would not have a consensus opinion. I would have one guy that kind of has a referee's eye, and he could tell me, hey, I challenge that, or I wouldn't challenge that, or whatever, that you have complete faith in. Now, he may have that. I don't know. I'm just I just make sure the guy that's suggesting it wouldn't be 4 guys. It would be one guy that has kind of a referee's eye and knows that we really probably should challenge that and see if it went through. So whatever that means.
All right. Next question. They've been giving you all kind of good. Look, folks, we're gonna have to cut the questions. You would think the offensive breakdown after this game, people they wouldn't tune in. Al, there are 2,000 people in here.
They want to know. I don't. These Michigan fans, they're smart, man. They want to know what. I don't blame them. That's part of the deal.
2,000 people in here still asking you questions.
Yeah.
All right. Maize and Whiskey says, Coach, would having a sign stealer make a difference in the results so far? This is not a kind of stallions comment as much as a note. We haven't replaced him. Seems like we don't have as many adjustments outside of halftime. Do you think that's an issue, Coach Borges?
Well, sign stealing is null and void, isn't it? I mean, they got mics in the helmet now, right? You don't have to send signals in anymore. You can just tell the guy in the mic. So I don't. I mean, I would have these. You can't steal a sign when the guy's. Just make sure you can't read your lips. But you can call a play without that. So I don't know if that's even a deal anymore.
Yeah. Don M says, love these breakdowns. Interesting and worthwhile. We love you too, Don. Glad that you're here watching.
Thank you very much, Don.
Yeah. Jeremiah Webb chimed in. Love the breakdowns. Both sides of the ball. Awesome. We love you too, Jeremiah. Appreciate you. I don't know if you read that. That's not a relative, by the way. At least I don't think so. James Fortune says, Al, is there an offensive rule that says if we throw incomplete on first down, we have to run on second down?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Okay, so let's make sure that that's accurate. They threw complete the first 2 downs. Both were passes. So they complete for 13, complete for 9. So they didn't run at the beginning of the game. They threw on first down on 6, but ran on second down on 7. Okay. First down, they threw on first down and ran on second down. So that's valid. They threw on first down, ran on second down after an incomplete pass. Threw on first down, threw on second down, stick smash followed by play pass flood. So that's a nebulous generalization. I've already pointed out 3 times they didn't do that. So it's not maybe as much as you think if you just study the play call. But they probably do some of that. I mean, if I kept going, there'd be other ones where they ran the ball on second down after an incomplete pass, I guess. But it's not 100%. That's evident.
All right.
Sam, when they ask the questions, they got to know I got the calls right in front of me, okay?
Yeah,
so make sure that before you ask it, you do a little homework.
A man is a machine. He's a machine.
I'm not. I just spend a lot of time writing this stuff down and make sure that I can answer it educated. I don't sound like an idiot,
I'm almost afraid to put this up. These people are waiting for me, Al. You got to know this is not an Ohio fan, but these Ohio State fans, they're chomping at the bit to get at me. In a couple of weeks, they're waiting to get at me. This is not an Ohio State fan, but the Ohio State folks are waiting to get at me. Jared L. Warner says, hey, Al, do we have a chance to beat Ohio?
Sure. Of course we do. We're not a great offensive team, but we are a good defensive team. So that means if you can play a solid offensive game, not necessarily a prolific offensive game, you can win a close game. So yeah, you can beat Ohio State. But if for some reason you're completely incompetent, they have an efficient offense that can score a lot of points. You can get beat and get beat bad. But to say that you can't, I'd say you can't if both sides were miserable, but they're not. So, yeah, I mean, you just got to put together a great effort and maybe get a couple of turnovers. And you don't know.
LeBron James says, Sam, why hasn't Fred Moore been playing more? I honestly don't know how much Fred has been playing or not been playing. It's hard to tell. I mean, I couldn't really tell you because, yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't do with my numbers. I probably should, but God dog, I got so much is count snaps for each player, which I did when I coordinated. I'd have to count them. Somebody would always give it to me, But I don't see any GAs in the room right now, so I'm kind of on my own on this. I can't give you a stat there.
Yeah, I don't know. Tiger Town says, can Sharon be a little more creative with his play calling? I mean, every time they bring in Alex Orji, we know it's a run play. Try throwing him a little more. At least you can catch defenses, I guess, off guard. First, Sharon, I don't know how many plays Sharon actually calls.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think he calls very many, quite honestly.
Well, I'll go one step further than that. How many times did they bring Orji in a year ago and he threw a pass?
Right.
Not very much. But the team was a lot better, so nobody complained about it near as much.
Right. Henry McAlpine, why is special teams so bad? Is it because they keep switching players around? I don't know. This is something that he's gonna have to evaluate after the season. That is a valid question that you're gonna have to evaluate.
Yeah.
Look at very closely. There are rumors that Miller Moss is interested in Michigan. I've talked about this. There is reason to. I think they may have been listening to our shows. So, and they may have. Like I said, they may have been checking us out and then taking that and propagating things that they hear from us and making it sound like they got something. So, Al, Neil Wiggins says, Al, is there any real hope for Sharon, or are we doomed to another bad season next year?
Oh, no, that's not fair. I mean, what they're dealing with is a completely different football team. And they set the bar at national championship. There really was no place to go but down. Now, could they play better? I think Sharon will be the first one to tell you he thinks that they could. But you have to, when you're the new head coach, unless you inherit a fantastic football team, there's going to be growing pains, and they are not a fantastic football team. So I, as a fan, with Sharon, you're going to get his best effort recruiting, best effort on the field. He's going to do all he can to make it work. So let's not panic and get all restless, okay? You had to get a high bar to jump over there, and he's going to year to fix some of these things and maybe get better. Not necessarily go back to win a national championship, but get the team in position where they are competitive on a national level. But this guy's got his heart and soul in this thing now. And you can't just say, well, whatever the record ends up being, this guy can't coach. That's absurd. In time, you'll have enough sample size to know. But sometimes you jump the gun. And before you know it, you let somebody go that could have got you where you wanted to be. If I'm not mistaken, in 1919, they were calling for Harbaugh's head. Am I wrong about that, Sam? Maybe I missed something.
2020, they were calling.
2020, yeah. Get him out. You know what he's doing. He's been here 7 years. What an idiot. You got to three championships later and a national championship, everybody's, throwing palms in his path as he goes down the street on a donkey,
That's so, and yet they would say, but wait a minute, Coach Borges, we did have that he did have some believers still on his side that would cite his resume before that. Stanford, the 49ers, San Diego, he had a body of work that they could point to, and they would say, well, we don't have that body of work that we could point to with Sharon. That's what they would say.
Well, I know they would say that, but those just as many were saying they didn't care about that body of work.
That is true.
They wanted a new head coach. So my point is you got to give the guy a chance to get his program intact. Okay, recruit it, coach it, fix all the errors, and after a certain amount of time, if you think that he's not capable, you got to do what you got to do. But I don't think it's certainly not now, and it certainly isn't even after next year. And if you sign him to a 4-year contract, you got to give him 4 years to figure out what to do. I know this, okay? I've seen a lot of head coaches without head coaching experience that end up fantastic head coaches, but it didn't happen right away because there's some learning curve that goes with that. And once they got their feet and they, got entrenched in the job, fixed some of the errors that they had made, got the staff they wanted, and the program was rolling. And Michigan is a great place where that can happen.
Well, I got to tell you, we got to cut. I know this could go on, but we got to finish the film study. It's amazing. 2,000 people, 1,951 people in here right now. That's amazing. The offense was made our collective eyes bleed in this last contest. And 1,951 people in the breakdown right now is amazing to see, and questions still flowing in. So
They want to know, Sam. Sam, they want to know. They want to know.
yeah,
And we want to tell them,
yeah,
and
that is,
so,
so yeah, we appreciate the interest and the support. Continue to show interest and support. The film study will be available over on the Autograph app tomorrow morning. In case you missed it, we had the interview with Lucy Guo from Passes, the founder of Passes. She is amazing. She is fantastic. Passes is the new NIL partner, one of the new NIL partners at the University of Michigan. And their deal with Michigan is different from the one with Texas, who their deal with Texas is with the collective. With Michigan, it is a direct deal. They paid 7 figures up front with this deal with Michigan. It's a 7-year deal to bring their platform to Michigan that it allows for student athletes to use their platform as a sort of a host platform for their content creation. And so, they're to take their brand to as a host platform for their content, their videos, their to sell products and all kinds of great things. And what takes this to the next level is because it's a direct deal with Michigan. You can use Michigan's brand and take the student athlete's brand using Michigan's brand directly to passes their advertisers, which is next level. That's one thing that student athletes don't have. They don't have advertisers. You always see them say, hey, if you want to have a deal with me, contact my rep. Well, Passes already has a advertiser menu, right? Well, now they can go directly to advertisers with the student athletes and the Michigan brand and say, hey, you want to work with Silas Swords, for instance, from the University of Michigan. Well, hey, we got this student athlete from the University of Michigan, and you want to do some content creation with her and have a platform for her content to appear on. Here you go. This is next level stuff. And oh, by the way, they also put some money in the kitty for Bryce Underwood to keep Bryce home, separate from this deal, from the 7 figures they already put on the table for Michigan. They put some more money separate from that to keep Bryce home. Now we'll see if they're able to do it. That's some real stuff. And by the way, Lucy Guo, she's big time. She was being kind of humble about it. I think the only self-made multi-millionaire in the country richer than her is Kylie Jenner. I think she's like $900 million is Lucy Guo. I think that's how she's getting down. That's big time. So anyway, that's how she's getting down, Al Borges. And she's like 30. That's crazy.
I just want a little tiny bit of that.
That's what I said. Can I get a little piece? Can we get a little piece of that?
A little tiny bit.
Right? Anyway, we got to get out of here so we get over to the film study. We appreciate you guys. Yeah. It should be Don M. It should be. We appreciate you. We appreciate all you guys. Thanks for all your support. We'll see you next time on the Michigan Football Breakdown, focused on the offense with Al Borges.
Go Blue.